All right, so we're here to talk about Sean P. Diddy Combs.
Look, I haven't really thought about this case in a while. You hit me up. You're like, come over. You're itching to talk about this. I could tell that you're itching. Look at you. Look at that sly smile. Can I just tee it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you have a lot to say. I'm wondering what's on people's minds because we wake up in the news every morning in the news feed. It's like the headline is something bad about Sean Combs. Very, very negative headlines in every pop culture magazine, newspaper, YouTube's all over it. All the news is talking about sort of like, when is he going down? When is he going to get charged? What are these charges? When are they coming? We did a podcast about it, anticipating the charges coming down. Is it going to be state? Is it going to be federal? What crimes? But nothing has happened. Nothing has happened yet. Everybody's waiting. So what's going on, RJ? What's up?
That's the question. Is Diddy done? Right? Is Sean Diddy officially going to be, Sean Diddy Combs going to be officially arrested? I think so. I'm going to predict that he is. I think it's going to be one of the biggest cases. I would compare it to Harvey Weinstein meets Jeffrey Epstein with a touch of R. Kelly. And then you get those conglomerate cases together, you get the Sean Combs case. And
hold up one sec.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein, been behind bars for a number of years now, still facing over a decade or two in prison, even though some things have been overturned. So that's a crazy negative outcome. You mentioned R. Kelly, another horribly bad outcome for the defendant, right? He's still in prison and looking at what? Close to a lifetime. So you are paralleling the Sean Combs case to these two drastic, terrible outcomes.
Yeah.
What's going through his mind? I mean, if he were to hear you say that, and he's a free man, he's walking around a free man, 0 charges have been brought. And he hears this like impending doom coming down from an expert like yourself, which I totally believe you.
I'll tell you why there's impending doom coming down. Okay. The worst thing that you could ever hear anybody say is there's a grand jury investigating you. And right now there's a grand jury investigating Sean Combs. And if you ask me, RJ, in your experience, have you ever heard of a grand jury convening and not indicting? I tell you, I don't know of any case that's ever happened where grand juries got together and said, I'm not going to indict. There's a saying actually from the 50s from a federal law judge that you could indict a ham sandwich, which means you could indict anybody. And do you know why? Because during a grand jury proceeding, which is a secret hearing, a lot of jurors get together. I don't know what the amount is. It's maybe 50 to 100 jurors get together. And then they listen to evidence in a secret room. And the standard is probable cause, which is it likely that he did it? If it's likely, more likely than not, reasonable suspicion, which is what the law says. If there's a reasonable suspicion that he did it, he's going to get indicted.
This is interesting. Can I pause one sec? We don't get the behind the scenes of a grand jury often.
Yeah.
Let's just step on that for 1 sec. Is that usually you'll have 12 members of a jury, but in a grand jury,
you've got a petted jury.
Yeah. But in a grand jury, you've got, as you just said, 50 to 100 jurors. Whatever. It's a large number. What is that? Is that just, this is like a filtering mechanism before we really get to court?
Yeah. The grand jury is basically 23 members. Okay. I said 20 to 50. It's actually 23 members. Well, that's civil grand jury. So a criminal grand jury would be a little bit more, and they get together in a secret meeting, and 23 again for criminal apparently. Okay.
A secret meeting. I like
it's a secret hearing where nobody gets to basically interfere. The prosecution presents evidence to a magistrate or a judge, and he says these crimes happen, and he puts people in a stand.
Are these regular jurors that would have got a pamphlet at home like we all do?
Yeah. You get a regular, and then you go and you find out that it's Sean Combs, and then they slowly put on evidence. And I mean slow. It could take weeks, because if you want me to get into it, dive deep, I'll tell you what's going on.
I want to.
All right. So I think I'm going to name drop. I think they've interviewed Ashton Kutcher. I think they've interviewed Rick Ross. I think they've interviewed Jake Khaled.
Is that DJ Khaled?
Yeah. Because these people were with them during these Miami parties where Little Rod and everybody would go and they'd spin records and stuff. And the after parties, they're going to interview everybody that's partied with them.
No. Really?
Everybody.
In the grand jury investigation.
I'm telling you, Ashton Kutcher is definitely going to be one of the people that's going to be talking.
So they're in this secret room we talked about.
They're in a secret room. And I'm not saying that they have something to spill, but they're definitely going to interview everybody that's been at every party and ask them, did you see those girls and who those girls are? Additionally, they're going to go into all the videos that were found from Sean Combs' home. He apparently was using them, for security. But you and I know in that industry, in that shady industry, it's used to blackmail people all the time, just like Epstein did.
Epstein style,
like I'll work with you, but if you don't work with me, by the way, I still have your video. So keep that in the back of your head.
4K HD,
Ultra
HD.
Yeah, and by the way, he was accused, and I'm going to talk to you about what the charges are going to be against Sean Combs. But
you brought up the underage. Well, you brought up girls, and I'm assuming underage girls has been the main sort of keystone on which I think the biggest potential charges lie.
Human trafficking is going to be one. Cassie Ventura is going to be the likely candidate that's probably cooperating right now.
Even though she settled?
Well, it doesn't matter.
I mean, she civilly settled, got a major payout from the guy. Is she allowed to even testify against him?
If you get criminal subpoena, you got no choice. A civil subpoena doesn't shield you from a criminal subpoena.
Okay.
A criminal subpoena usurps
any
kind of lawsuit because you're trying to get to the truth. Somebody's going to go to jail, so they don't give a crap about you settling a case. They want to know the truth.
Right.
So you're going to get to come to court.
Right. Hush money doesn't really work.
Cassie's going to be one of the people that they're talking to, and then it blows up there like the internet. It's like where do the tentacles reach from Cassie? Cassie might name drop 4 other girls that were harmed. Then they're going to go interview them. And then they're going back now to the college girls for the RICO predicates. And I'll get into that. He's going to be charged with RICO. RICO meaning that they're saying that Bad Boy Entertainment was all along just an umbrella to do illegal activity.
Same as the Young Thug allegation.
Same as R. Kelly. Same as Young Thug. Same as Harvey Weinstein. They're basically saying that you're running an operation which is legit, but you're doing a lot of illegit stuff while you're doing it.
Is it Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organization Act?
Yeah.
RICO Act, which just broadened. We've talked about it so many times.
Yeah.
But it seems to come up a lot because it's been this amazing superpower the government gave itself.
Right.
When it allowed itself to broaden prosecutorial sort of breath to go, hey, well, we don't exactly have you firing a gun or trafficking an underage person, but you sit at the top of this organization, and certainly we have other members guilty of crimes, and you sort of order those shots. You call the shots downhill.
Think of it this way. Bad Boy, right? Bad Boy is a music company. It's a part of a bigger company, right?
A record label.
It's a record label, and they belong to a larger company. The executives then say, hey, listen, Sean Combs, we like your artist. Can you produce some albums for us? We'll give you a contract. So he's working above, right?
Yeah.
Think of it like an umbrella or a branch of a tree. He's one of the branches from the tree. And not a necessary branch, by the way. These executives aren't going to go down, So because they're going to also be investigated for RICO.
Which executives?
The executives from the record company.
Oh, so the higher-ups.
The higher-ups, they're not going to go down. And the reason why they could be in trouble is because they give producers like Sean Combs money,
of course,
for promotions. And he used this money allegedly for illegal gain, or means, I should say. So the question becomes, did the higher-ups know that he was doing it or have reason to know he was doing it? And if they did, then they're a part of the conspiracy. But Tony, I'm going to ask you question. Do you think the executives are going to let that happen?
No way.
So what I think is happening right now is everybody is just keeping their mouth shut because they don't want it. He's toxic. This guy's cancer.
Right.
I mean, it's already over. His career is over. He'll never be the same. Forget P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, what his name was. He's just legally Sean Combs from now on.
You were saying earlier before we started rolling that you feel like even in pop culture, even in the public sphere, he won't be P. Diddy anymore.
He's ostracized officially.
He's just Sean Combs.
Diddy is done.
Diddy's done. You're just a regular dude now.
He's a regular dude, probably going to be going to prison right now. I'll get into that, by the way, why I think is going to be going to prison. Everybody's seen that Cassie Ventura assault. You could just Google it and take a look at what is done.
Yeah.
He came
Everybody saw that video. It was horrifying to watch. But wasn't there some statement by some arm of the government saying they weren't going to prosecute after that? Or am I just making that up?
Well, you talk about the statute of limitations. So the prosecutor came out in Los Angeles County and said because the statute expired, there's nothing they could do about it. It's a 6-year statute.
Got it.
And that, by the way, not only did he assault her, there could be possible great bodily injury.
I mean, that was battery.
But also somebody didn't talk about kidnapping.
Kidnapping.
Exactly.
100%.
Kidnapping.
Of course. You
dragging from one point to the other. You're not going anywhere. That's kidnapping.
Unless you're a caveman.
So he treated her like a caveman.
Oh,
So basically, he kidnapped her, beat her, threw a vase at her with it's an assault with a weapon. And then on top of it, it's interesting. He comes out and says it's all a lie. It's all a complaint. And then when he gets caught with his pants down, he's got to say he went to a dark place. But he never says, by the way, I'm wrong for lying about saying that I never did it. He's just covering his tracks because he got caught with his pants down.
You know who he would be good for, or they would be good together? Amber Heard.
Yeah.
They would be an awesome couple, a power couple.
I don't think they would last 2 weeks. They're narcissistic for each other.
A lot of bottles would collide midair. And so the shrapnel would be incredible to watch. So that tape, which everybody saw, is it kind of moot now because the statute is run?
It's not moot. In my opinion, they're going to use that as a RICO predicate. So let's talk about that.
It gets in some side door. There's a side door.
All his skeletons are going to come back to wrap it up to show that Bad Boy was nothing more than another death row records. Just like Suge Knight went down. Suge Knight was worth $100 million, $200 million, and now is worth zero.
Did he go down via RICO as well?
They didn't charge him with RICO.
No,
but they could have.
Before all this RICO stuff in the music business.
That was before the prosecutors got very creative with the laws. And they started stretching out RICO, and they started using it more and more.
Is it overreach?
That's something we could argue on another podcast. Right now, we're not talking about that. But
anybody has any concerns about government overreach, prosecutorial overreach, all these RICO organized crime things being brought against every rap artist, it's slightly concerning. And the Young Thug one doesn't seem to have come to fruition yet.
Tony, you know why? It's the culture. The entertainment culture, the music culture.
Especially rap.
I mean, there's a saying, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Right. That's a part of music.
You talk about crime a lot.
And it's a part of the Hollywood culture, too. It's just, unfortunately, when you have a criminal enterprise, all right, if you have a Bad Boy record label, but in reality, you're doing illegal stuff, it doesn't matter that you're a legitimate producer getting Grammy Awards. If you're still doing illegal things under that umbrella and you're using Bad Boy as an excuse, you're saying, I'm not illegitimate. I'm a regular producer. I'm part of Bad Boy. The law says, no, you're not. You're pretending to be legitimate. You're just using Bad Boy. Yeah, you may be making money and you're doing that well, but unfortunately, you're intertwining that too close to illegal activities like human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, and so forth. Does that make sense?
It does, but like human trafficking, what are we really talking about when it comes down to Sean Combs? We're talking about girls on a yacht, partying, drinking champagne bottles, which happen to be maybe spiked with some drugs.
Also, Cassie Ventura is human trafficking. If you bring Cassie from point A to point B and you make her have sex with other men, that's called human trafficking because you're bringing her through interstate commerce, for the point of illegal sexual activity. And this illegal sexual activity, she doesn't want to be a part of the sexcapades that Sean Combs wants her to be a part of.
Right. And so there's probably many instances of that. We don't know how many girls that might have been. Some of them might have been underage. It seems like they were. That's a whole other level.
It's another level, but I don't even think they need that. They just need Cassie to establish that Cassie was in fact one of the people that was human trafficking, to establish what they call a RICO predicate. All they have to do is establish, what did they do in the criminal enterprise? Was it illegal? If the answer is yes, then the jury's going to want to know, what's the illegal activity? Okay, it's human trafficking. How do we know? Cassie told us. How else do we know? Other girls have told us. So they established that. It doesn't necessarily have to be charged. It could only be an underlying predicate to show a criminal enterprise. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they're going to charge him with that, which is a violation of the Mann Act, basically bringing a person from one point to the next point.
This is federal?
Federal, yeah. RICO, aggravated sexual abuse. That's what it's looking at. Sexual abuse and assault. Human trafficking, just like Epstein. Only difference is this is much worse than Epstein. Epstein wasn't involving drugs. Epstein was just massages and sex. This is drugs and inducement of drugs.
Like
involuntary inducement of GHB, which is Rufinol, which a lot of people have said at his parties. Girls were drinking these drinks and knocking out after one.
Essentially getting roofied?
Getting roofied.
Without knowing.
Without knowing. Yeah. Which is a typical Bill Cosby-esque kind of thing to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Or maybe even a Roger, maybe even an R. Kelly-esque kind of thing to do.
Sounds 60s, 70s-ish, right?
Well, I mean, instead of Quaaludes, now we have GHB, right? Quaaludes with the 60s, and now we have GHB, which is stronger and more potent.
Is that some kind of growth hormone?
I'm not sure what Rufinol is, but I do know it has a very heavy effect to sedate you, and it could knock you out.
Wow.
And that's what she was accused of. She was accused of basically taking these roofies or taking these drinks to the point where she didn't know what was going on, and she had sex workers. And apparently he videotaped, males having sex with her, and he masturbated to them in these freak offs, basically what he called a freak off. Now,
hello, YouTube algorithm. Here we go.
I know.
No, I'm just talking.
I know.
It's all good. Cancel us.
Well,
we got to talk about it.
So here's
so that you listed a lot of crimes there, potential crimes,
including when he was in college. They could bring back girls from his college days, which are accusing him of beating somebody with a belt back in college, choking another girl in college, raping a girl in college.
Okay, that's getting a little Brett Kavanaugh there. Like we're going far.
They'll go back. They'll go about 5 years, 6 years. They'll keep it fresh. But the point is, those girls will lead to other girls. They're going to go up the food chain and find out what's closer to the timeline. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And also, you should keep in mind that when you look at this industry, who does it really favor? This industry itself, the music industry, it's basically a networking industry, right? And that's why these people don't want to complain, because you want to get gigs in the industry, and if you make an accusation, that doesn't do much to your prospects. No, in fact, people are going to want to work with you if you complain.
You have very little leverage as talent in the entertainment business, because unfortunately it's all predicated upon being chosen. You got to be selected and chosen, and pick me, whether it's auditions or you want to be an R&B singer, or they're going to give you the best producer, the best writer, the best glam squad.
And they're going to use that in the criminal trial to show that it's an ecosystem that's engineered for the people at the top, and that the people at the top are taking advantage of the people at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's going to be presented.
I mean, there's exploitation. It's literally a positively used term in brand marketing and entertainment. How do we exploit this idea?
Yes.
How do we exploit this brand for positive gain? It's actually not used in a negative way, but sort of step back and look at it and say, yeah, it's kind of negative, I guess. I mean, it's any power structure, right? Where the people on the bottom have very little leverage compared to on top.
Yes.
Entertainment, I mean, could it be the same at law firms or
of course,
or hospitals where big surgeons work and have
Yes. There was actually a movie, I forgot, with Tom Cruise, where he was running a RICO predicate act. Remember the law firm? I think it was called The Firm. The whole firm was an illegal firm. They were doing illegal things the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be RICO also. You could go after anybody. Pizza place. RICO basically means whatever you're doing is basically a front, and that your real activity or your underlying activity is crime. Just like in the Bad Boy case, they're saying that, look, you're spinning records, fine. You're producing, that's fine. But in the meantime, you're raping, you're sexually assaulting, you're trafficking, and that's what you're really doing.
And you're sort of using the allure and the glow and the celebrity from this creative art to then sort of facilitate all these crimes in a way.
Right. And they're saying that you're manipulating the talent because you know you can, because you have the power to. And why are these people going to complain against you? You know that they're not going to complain against you. And these NDAs, these non-disclosure agreements, so that scares them even more, because they're thinking they're going to get sued for millions of dollars that they can't afford. So it's really an uphill climb to accuse somebody like Sean Combs. It's surprising that now his world is crumbling. And
not yet. I mean, in the court of public opinion, certainly. I mean, pop artists are coming out left and right saying down with Diddy.
He's legally.
I know.
Legally.
I believe you. We're just sort of waiting for it to come down. So it's
coming down.
So your thought is now that there's the secret meetings in the grand jury.
Yes.
All these people are being questioned.
Yes.
From Cassie to Ashton Kutcher to all these celebrity friends. I mean, how many parties did this guy have?
Yeah.
How many potential people have witnessed crimes at parties? I mean, crimes even used loosely, like drug use.
Yeah.
And this is all happening now, and they're trying to figure out when to bring the charges and what the charges are going to be.
Even I think, I know this sounds crazy, I'm throwing it out there, I think Kanye West has a lot to do with this too, because he's made some outlandish comments.
Like what?
He said that basically P. Diddy's been a Fed informant for years, and everybody's known it. And just to give you background why that makes sense, is his dad was the driver for Frank Lucas, who was a notorious Chicago gangster, one of the worst gangsters in the world. His dad happened to be his driver. And, his dad was allegedly an informant also. If you Google that, some people are saying within the circles, his ex-bodyguard and things like that. His ex-bodyguard also said that P. Diddy was an informant. He said that he saw him give guns to people in black clothes, exchange guns, and had secret meetings with these people. That's
a vague allegation.
It's a vague allegation, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if you know this. Reverend Al Sharpton was an FBI informant for many years. Google that. I'm not making that up. There's a lot of all FBI informant means is at some point in time you were in trouble,
right?
And instead of getting in trouble, they were like, what? We're not going to sign here. We're going to come ask you some questions every now and then. You can't say no to us and you can't lie to us.
You want door A or you want door B?
So would it shock me? Think about this, all right? Would it shock me that Sean Combs is an FBI informant? Well, let's think about
Hold on. Since when?
All right. Since the beginning. Let's talk about it. His friend dies. Notorious B.I.G. dies, all right? He's in the car. I'm not saying he had any involvement in it. Nothing happened to him.
His only involvement was he was getting shot at simultaneously.
Right. Tupac gets killed. Keefe D says that he was at least enticed to kill him by him for $1 million. Never investigated.
Him being Sean Combs.
Yeah. He also shot in 1996. Sean Combs had a attempted murder charge where he allegedly shot at somebody. The victim in the case has said from day one that it wasn't the shooter Shine, the rapper Shine. It was Sean Combs that shot her. She said that J-Lo was the one that brought the gun, that smuggled the gun into the club. Sean Combs was acquitted of that. Later on, the guy that went to jail said he got paid $50,000 from Sean Combs not to testify. These are all things. He's on the radar. I'm just saying, like anybody else on the radar would have went down. He's got some sort of angel on his shoulder that is taking care of him all these years. It's just
these charges allegations have been stacking, but nothing's taken him
right. And another example I'm going to give you is Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Whitey Bulger?
Yes. He was a hitman for the mafia, but then he
was also an FBI informant.
Turned into an informant.
At the same time.
There's movies about it.
At the same time. Do you know who Manuel Noriega is?
Yeah. He was president of the Philippines.
And also a CIA informant. And what happened when he started killing presidents and started dealing drugs, and George Bush, the first president, didn't like it. What did we do to Manuel Noriega?
I believe we overthrew his government, arrested him, brought him and his wife. We started a war.
We invaded his country and we took him out. So is it unfathomable for me to believe that there are FBI agents? I'm a criminal defense attorney. I have FBI informants that I work with the FBI.
You could be an FBI informant yourself.
I'm not an FBI informant. Don't spread that.
I'm just saying.
I'm not an FBI, nor will I ever be. Okay?
If you were,
never.
Would you be able to say it?
No, I wouldn't say it, but I would never be. I'm putting on the record. That's just not me. R.J. Manuel would never do it. But
so you're not.
I am not, and never will be.
Because if anyone who would not be able to say that.
But I'm telling you, I have clients that are FBI informants.
Right.
Okay. And why are they FBI informants? Because they're looking at life in prison or 20 plus years in prison, and instead of going to prison, I help them avoid prison by helping the government.
Dude, it's actually more common than people think, right?
Very common.
It's like those memes you see on the internet where there's 11 criminals and 7 of them are FBI informants. And
that's why it wouldn't surprise me if he's an FBI informant, and I wouldn't think negatively of that because there are so many FBI informants. But it would make sense.
At some point, they must have come up to him and approached him and say, "Hey, Sean Combs, can we do a deal? Can you be an informant? Can you help us out? You probably have access to more criminals. Help us catch them."
Okay, so I'm going to give you an FBI informant situation. I have an informant right now. We're working out a deal, and this person wound up in trouble while she was working with the FBI. They're helping us smooth things over with the state government right now. They're helping us.
In exchange for what?
In exchange for her promise not to do it again. They're wagging the finger saying don't do that again.
Well, that's one.
And why are they accommodating us? Because they don't want her to go to jail. They want to use her. So she's an asset. Mm-hmm. P. Diddy or Sean Combs could have been an asset this entire time. And that's why they haven't really been breathing down his neck. But when this Little Rod lawsuit got filed, that's when I think the shot over the bow started with the government. And they just said, you know what? We don't need you anymore. Thank you. Thank you for the info, but we're done with you. The FBI is done with them. The government is done with them. his relationships with business, he's done with him. He's just done. He's ostracized, and now he's going to not only be vilified, he's going to be prosecuted as well.
Why wasn't it the Cassie lawsuit that triggered it?
Because the Cassie lawsuit was filed in federal court by Tyrone Blackwell, who's his attorney, and that's typically not done. That's another issue.
So it was sort of under the radar.
It was under the radar. They put it on the radar, and it's almost like walking into federal court in front of all the judges. I know somebody that's committing a crime. Right. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to investigate, of course.
I think you're going to also be part of that investigation.
Probably, yeah. And actually, they reported him for doing that. He's now under. They're going to try to sanction him for doing that because he knew this lawyer actually drew first blood in a very dirty way. This was never supposed to get filed in federal court, but he did that, and he put salacious things inside of the indictment. Excuse me, the complaint.
Is that Cassie's lawyer?
Yeah, not Cassie's lawyer. Yes. No, Rodney Jones' lawyer.
Little Rod's lawyer.
Yeah, Little Rod's lawyer did that.
He went dirty.
He went dirty to get public attention.
And he did get a lot of attention.
And because of him, that's what cost
this whole thing, cards.
Pandora's box, which is what I told you on our last podcast. I said the worst thing that Sean Combs did was settle Cassie's lawsuit. He should have fought that. And I hate to say this as a lawyer. I feel like the devil's saying this. I think you should have told him, you got to keep lying and saying you didn't do it. We got to fight this because if you don't fight it, all the sharks are going to see the blood and come after you. And that's exactly what happened.
So strategically, you think he should have fought it, dragged it out,
yes.
Spend some money, just kept it at bay, not let it get resolved, not let it become a news story.
Yes, with a little bit of a caveat, a little warning I have. That video that came out, I wonder if the lawyer threatened to release that video or if he had that video.
Beforehand.
I just don't, if I saw that video, I would have absolutely settled in a heartbeat. That was the right move. But if the video wasn't on the attorney's mind, I thought it was a bad move because all they had is her word against his word at that point. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some black and blue in the eyes and
certainly
things like that.
This video corroborates everything Cassie ever alleged.
I mean, yeah, but it made it worse for him. He's looking at now a hell of a lot more, skeletons to pop out of his closet, and he's going to have to deal with all these skeletons now.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen? I'm telling you right now. So they're going to pierce this false persona veil that Sean Combs has put on for the public for all these years. You could even Google some of his rants and his anger management. It's been before all of us, but we all thought it was his character. You know, his vivacious, tenacious diligence. You know, yelling and throwing things. Yeah, man, I could do it. But, you know, if you listen to all of his friends, he's always had an underlying anger problem. You know, like I said, again, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I'm going to tell you all again, once again, that I think everybody's presumed innocent. Mm-hmm. But based on the pattern, what I'm seeing, the dots that I'm seeing right now, the raids going on, what I'm reading on the news, based on my research, It looks like this is not a nice guy. It looks like this has been a guy that has never been nice, has been fooling the public for many years. And the only reason we've been giving him a pass is because he puts out good music.
I'm sure you're right, but being an a-hole is not a crime.
No, but sexual trafficking is, human trafficking is.
Yep.
Taking drugs with you from point A to point B. They have Aaron, I think his name is Aaron Paul, the guy that was his mule that was on the airplane. He could get charged just for that, just for bringing drugs from point A to point B. There are so many darts.
Like trafficking or distribution.
The government has like 10 darts in their hand. They're going to throw it at the dartboard, okay? They're going to throw it. And, you know, it's one of the darts are going to hit eventually.
Right. But it just, man, they must be building up the ammo because it's just quiet on the Western Front right now. Like, everybody's waiting. There's like a tumbleweed going by.
It's the calm before the storm.
There's secret meetings, but nothing, no one knows anything about it. And the press, headline after headline is, he's going down. He's a bad guy. What else did he do? What other skeletons in the closet? But yeah, I hear you. Legally, what's going through his head? Actually, better yet, what's going through his lawyer's mind?
All right, his lawyer's thinking right now, if I was his lawyer, I'm thinking for sure, I had a meeting with him and I say, Sean, I got some news for you. I don't want to tell you this, but you're probably going to get indicted.
He's going to be like, dude, I hear nothing. It's just birds chirping.
Yeah, and he's going to say, Sean, what's going on right now is that's how the government works. They're having a secret meeting. Your buddies are all flipping on you, and they're all chirping and maybe even composing.
Your buddies are all flipping on you. That's so sad.
And nobody wants to touch you. You're toxic. And they'll do whatever and say whatever to get themselves out. And if they saw something, they're going to go ask their friends. And they're going to ask their friends and their friends and their friends. It's like a spider web, and they're going to just keep going until they find something. And then Sean's going to say, so what does this mean? It means get ready. We're going to have to get a date for you to go surrender and make sure there's not a lot of press there so that when we come out, you don't have a Cuba Gooding Jr. moment. You don't have a Harvey Weinstein
perp walk.
moment. He's going to try to avoid that.
Avoid the perp walk?
Yeah.
Just turn yourself in 6 a.m. somewhere?
Yeah. Turn yourself in early in the morning, when the press is not there. But this is so big, I doubt that's going to be able to happen. I think the press is just like, remember when we invaded Iraq during Desert Storm? The press was on the beach before we got there.
Yeah.
I think the press is going to be on the beach, on the front lines before he even gets there. Because they get tipped off.
Drones and shit over his house.
I have an educated speculation that there was an article about Sean Combs 2-3 months before the Cassie lawsuit, before all this went down. I'm just saying, the Rolling Stone, Ian Winter was one of the writers from it. He's very well connected. He's got connections to government agents and sources. And I think what's going to happen is if Sean Combs goes down, they're going to call Rolling Stone, they're going to call Wall Street Journal, and they're going to tell these guys, look, there's going to be a raid, just like Oliver.
When is this going to go down, man?
I'll tell you when it's going to go down. All right, so 6 months is a big window. I don't think it's going to be 6 months. That's a long range. So right there, I capped it. I capped it at 6 months. Do I think it's going to be 3 months? That's still a long range. I'd be shocked if it was 3 months. So I think it's going to be between now and 6 months at some point, maybe 3 months. There's going to be an indictment. He'll be charged with sexual abuse, human trafficking, possibly aggravated sexual abuse, definitely drug trafficking. That you can mark my words on that one. And probably with a violation of the Mann Act because...
Underage girls.
No, I don't know about the underage girls. I think that they may have that on the videos. If they get that from the videos and they interview the girls, that may be possible. But I'm thinking more Cassie Ventura. Cassie was saying that she was getting bounced around and having sex from point A to point B in different jurisdictions. That right there is a violation of the Mann Act. So
is she a voluntary witness at this point? I mean, is she a willing will she testify to all this, or is she kind of happy that she settled?
Okay, that's a great question. So she could either come in voluntarily, they'll call her and I'll tell her, Cassie, we know that you were involved, you were a victim and we'd like you to testify. And if she says, I don't want to.
I don't want to press charges.
The prosecutor would say, I understand, Cassie, but I'm doing my job. And I want you to know I have no choice but to subpoena you. So let your lawyer know I'm subpoenaing you. And then have your lawyer call me. And then the lawyer will call. Lawyer will speak to Cassie. Cassie, you have no choice. You got to go to court.
You got to tell the truth.
That's it. And then they put on her stand, raise your hand. Do you know who Sean Combs is? Yes. Please describe all the bad things that he did to you.
And if you lie,
she won't lie. Why would you?
No, but if you did, that's perjury.
Of course it's perjury, but there's no reason for it. Why would she protect the person that's treating her and beating her like that?
Can you try to just mumble and stay mute and not talk and take the fifth in any way?
That's not answering the question. Oh, the fifth you could take if it's legitimately something that's going to incriminate you. You don't have to. For example, if they ask Cassie, isn't it true that you and Sean Combs were traveling with cocaine in an airplane? I might tell her, I'm not having my client answer that question unless you give her immunity. They may give her immunity and say, you know what? We're not going to prosecute you for anything. You could go in and say anything that you want, which is what I think they're going to do.
Does immunity sort of destroy the fifth privilege or no?
Yes.
Wow.
It destroys it.
Okay.
Yeah. Once they give you immunity,
yeah,
you're screwed in a way. That means you got to answer every question.
Yeah, fifth is a moot now.
Now it's because
doesn't apply.
You get to be a queen for a day or a king for a day. You could say whatever you want. And you could say, I did drugs with Sean Combs and I loved it. We bought coke. We bought heroin. He did heroin off my chest. It was lovely. And there's nothing that could happen to her
so
because
they could
she's got immunity.
Easily offer her that.
Of course they would, because that would be a concern. She would say, I'm not going to testify if you're not going to give me immunity because I did illegal things too. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying she did it intentionally. I'm not saying that she did it voluntarily, but if like J-Lo, she's doing things with Sean, like carrying a gun, doing drugs, she's going to tell him that could be against the law. So she needs immunity.
Wow.
So you're going to look at violation of the Mann Act. Also, I think my understanding is the feds are also looking into allegations of money laundering and illegal drug use. The money laundering is basically the record companies give a lot of cash. They work with a lot of cash for vendors, for different things. I believe the allegations are that he used a lot of this cash to buy drugs. So that would be money laundering, where you get legitimate money. Mm-hmm. I give it to you to throw a party, but you take that the money that I gave you and you go buy cocaine with it. So basically, you initially not intentionally laundered it, you have laundered the money. They could argue that there's money laundering going on.
Isn't the laundering portion of it then reporting that as authentic, legitimate cash?
Yes. And well, all he's got to do is put on his ledger, we had a legitimate party, he's not going to put down, I had 50 pounds of cocaine.
I see. So if it in any way becomes a business expense,
he will business it out.
Is some kind of a legitimate expense tax-wise? Yeah. Now it's become money laundering in a sense because he took illegitimate money expenditures, but then legitimately kind of claimed a tax benefit.
100%. And they're going to write off that party that they spent $200,000 because they don't want to pay the taxes on it.
I mean, I don't know, but probably.
Hey, do you think Sean Combs is going to say, and by the way, I had 50 pounds of cocaine at the party too, and that was part of the expense? No. They're going to put something else on it, a miscellaneous, for example, right? Flour. Yeah, flour. Flour. That's good. Flour. Yeah, flour. So they're going to put something on there because they got to claim it. So that would be also maybe tax evasion. That could be another thing they could be going after him for.
Man.
Tax fraud. If he put down something on there, like if he hired sex workers to have sex with Cassie, but he put down like bartending, that could be a problem. Okay. Because you can't deduct illegal sex workers. You can't make a deduction for sex workers, but you can for bartending. There could be a whole slew of illegal activity. But I'll tell you what the press is missing, Tony, and this is where it gets exciting. Okay. And we're going to wrap this up. People are understanding it's not going to just finish at P. Diddy or at Sean Combs. That's the beginning. Who is Sean Combs going to give up? Number one, when he gets arrested. What about Chris Combs, his son, or King Combs? Okay. How about them? They're also being accused of sexual assault. They're on the video. Also.
Those are his two sons?
His two sons, yeah. They're all over on those videos. I think that his sons may go down. I think he may go down. His bodyguards may go down. His bodyguards, if they go down, they'll flip on him easy, just the way, all the other people have done in other cases. So, and, what about Kanye West? How is he involved in it? How does he know that he's a Fed? This is just going to unravel itself. It's Pandora's box in the beginning stages. And you know what's really fascinating? I think I will say this is going to be the biggest trial that we've seen probably since OJ, if it goes forward. If he goes, and he's not going to take a deal. He wouldn't take a deal on 10 years.
Would they even offer him a deal at this point? It feels like they are pulling that catapult further and further back with every allegation you just laid out. It's just secret meetings after grand jury investigations, pulling that weapon further and further back, loading up that spring for the shock that's about to hit Sean Combs.
I don't know if they're going to give him a deal. I think that if they would, it would be a deal that he wouldn't want. It wouldn't be a good deal. So sure, they may give him an offer, say, all right, you're looking at 20, 30 years. We'll give you a great deal, 15 years, take it or leave it. Do you think Sean Combs is going to take 15 years?
Do they want that, or do they want the actual prosecution and conviction?
They want the prosecution and conviction because they want to send a message. This is more of a public policy issue.
Big messaging.
Yeah, big messaging, and other people are going to start waking up. I think this is going to be very seismic in nature, just like the Me Too movement. I think this is going to cause earthquakes in that industry. If you thought Suge Knight went down hard, if you thought R. Kelly went down hard, you thought Harvey Weinstein went down hard,
right?
This is going to be a fall from grace like we've never seen. I mean, probably the only thing I could think about is Michael Jackson came pretty close to it.
O.J. Simpson
came close to it, but he still got ostracized. And even hypothetically, if Sean Combs dodges bullets and he doesn't get indicted, Diddy is done. He has no more contracts. Nobody will ever work with him again. He's a liability. You're not going to catch Taylor Swift at his parties. You're not going to catch any A-list celebrities at his parties.
No, the industry...
They're toxic. I wouldn't go to a party because I would be afraid if I walked in, what's going to be there?
Right.
What's going to happen?
Right.
I don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
Because do I want to get home and then get a phone call from the FBI saying, oh, by the way, we heard you at Sean Combs' party. Can we talk to you? I don't want to deal with that. Are you kidding me?
Look, before we wrap up, give me the other side real quick. Defend the guy.
I'll defend a guy.
Like, what is that light at the end of the tunnel for him, potentially, if any? What is that crack in the armor of the federal government coming after him? How do you defend him?
He already defended himself. He said it. Did you see the video where he apologized and he said he was in a dark place?
I saw it.
A lot of stuff. So what he's going to say is, I was under the influence of drugs. I was in the right mindset. I wasn't thinking right. I was so high, I didn't realize I was bringing drugs. See, if you're so high and you don't realize you're bringing drugs, that negates specific intent.
So is that claiming incapacity as a defense?
No, but it mitigates a little bit. It's a mitigating factor. He might say he wasn't as sinister as it sounds, that he was in a bad place, in a dark place. These are not defenses. Don't get me wrong. These are not defenses.
Do you think the lawyers advised that apology video in any way?
I have no idea.
Does it feel to you?
I wouldn't have done that if I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll tell you why. It looked very impromptu. If you take a look at it, it looked like he was in Hawaii. It looked like he just had like a nice margarita sip of something. And he was like,
I feel
okay.
like he's probably always in Hawaii having
Something.
margaritas.
He was in like a really relaxing environment. I thought I heard birds chirping. I think he just did it impromptu. Said, I'm just going to apologize because it was exploding everywhere at the time. If he called me and said, I'm going to make an apology letter, an apology video, I'd say, you realize, Sean, that if you do this, it's going to be used against you?
Yeah.
That they're going to use that apology in your federal trial. And Sean's going to say, for what? I didn't do anything. I'm just saying I'm sorry for what my past. No, but you're admitting to a criminal enterprise. You're admitting you did that. You are admitting that you beat Cassie up. Now you just gave him evidence. What am I supposed to do? Not apologize? Yes. Don't apologize. You've done enough damage. Thank you.
Don't say anything.
Just keep your mouth shut.
Right.
Let us do the work for you. Yeah. Now Sean's going to turn around and go, I can't just do that while they roll over me all over the press. That's going to be something you're going to have to take. The PR, you're going to have to take it in the chin.
He seems to be.
You're going to have to take it in the chin.
Yeah.
Because if you can't take it in the chin, you're going to go to prison if you keep talking and opening your mouth like that. And you know what they say, they may be going on a fishing expedition, but which fish get caught? The ones with their mouth open. So keep your mouth shut.
Shit, that is good. These are all federal. Are there any state crimes coming down the pike that he needs to fear for?
I wouldn't be scared of
New
any.
York,
I wouldn't
Florida,
be scared of any state.
California. They're raiding his homes in these states.
Who would you rather fight? Would you rather fight somebody in elementary school or somebody in college?
Definitely not college, not the federal government.
Okay, that's the federal government. Okay, I'd rather be in state any day. Okay, I could kick any state prosecutor's ass any day, but the federal government is different.
Wow.
It's different. It's the real deal.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
They have better resources, higher educated people. They're very well vetted and selected. These guys are square. They know what they're doing. They're Boy Scouts, and they're here to get you. I'm very proud of my federal government. Don't get me wrong. I want these guys. I know some of these guys. I'm glad we're there. They're there.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Everybody in this country should be over the moon to hear that we have at least that level of qualification on the federal government level. I mean, I'm sure everybody's not that talented, but if a good amount of them are, I feel good about that.
The federal government is the best of the best, the creme de la creme. Mm-hmm. I can't say that for state government. I'm not saying that state prosecutors are less quality or less ethical. I only could tell you based on my experience of when the feds get you, they got you.
Now, are there any problems with the case the feds are going to bring? Are there any statute of limitations issues?
Yeah, on the beating, on the video where he beats Cassie, that's not going to come in. That may be used as a predicate.
But what about all the other stuff you laid out?
It's recent. Everything his Tucci drug or Tucci is
that
flying back and forth. The
drug,
ecstasy, coke. That's recent. So he could get nabbed on that. Cassie Ventura, I don't know the timeline.
Right.
But there may be other girls. See, that Cassie is out of the picture. I don't think they're going to be able to get him on Cassie, but Cassie may lead them to other girls more fresh on the timeline.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are there other weaknesses in their case?
No. This is a rock solid case. Sure. I would be really concerned about Sean Combs. It's not a good case to have. You know what though, Tony? Let me tell you something. I tell all my clients, I hate to sound cliche, but you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. Okay. And as a criminal defense attorney, I see bad karma come my clients' way all the time. And my clients tell me, oh, they're lying about this or they're lying about that. But I tell my clients, but they're not lying about everything.
Everything, yeah.
Not everything.
And you're not paid to be a magician.
Right.
You're paid to do your job.
And when they say, why me? My brain goes, because you brought the karma on yourself, buddy.
Why did you?
All these people that now hate you, you wronged them all your life.
Yeah.
And the second you do something wrong at a later point in your life, of course, those people are going to come out of the woodwork and say, you screwed me too.
Right. If anybody,
that's called karma.
I would imagine if anybody is sort of enwrapped in major criminal prosecution right now, finds themselves on the end of this prosecution and this crime and this arrest and that, and if they're thinking to themselves, man, the world's against me and everybody's out to get me and this is just unfair, do yourself a favor and just drop those thoughts and start looking at what did I do wrong?
Exactly. Look at
how did I F up?
Right.
Who did I screw over? Who did I lie to?
Yeah.
How did I make bad decision after bad decision to end up here? Just do yourself that favor. It's hard for them to do that.
Not only that, but I think, and again, this is very controversial. I'm sure a lot of people are going to make really bad comments about this, but I think sometimes some people are past the point of no return. Some people are just bad people. And you can't change them. I have a lot of those clients. You just can't change them. Some of them do want to be redeemed. There are a lot of people that want to be redeemed. I don't know if Sean Combs could be redeemed, but based on his past, looking at who that man was from the get-go, he was never a nice man. So why would he all of a sudden be a nice man now?
Right.
Why would you want to be? You know, there's a saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So why is this guy going to all of a sudden, find redemption? And he keeps dropping God and God's grace. Well, you were beating women up while you still believed in God. Stop dropping God's grace every time you apologize.
Yeah.
So I just think, look, I think that, do I think he's guilty? I don't know. But I do know there's a lot of allegations coming. And from a criminal defense perspective, doing this 25 years, I would be worried if I was Sean Combs' attorney.
What's your over-under on whether this goes to trial? I mean...
Oh, it's going to trial.
Versus just he takes a guilty plea.
He won't take a guilty plea. He will not do trial. Well, did Weinstein take a guilty plea? Did R. Kelly take a guilty plea?
Because they want the trial.
They have to take the trial.
Yeah.
They're not going to admit to the world they did it.
Right.
They'd rather spend the rest of their life in prison and fight it than take 15 years and say they
innocence.
did it.
Maintain innocence.
Because the psychology is the client always thinks there's a chance of an appeal. Right. I mean, now, by the way, look at Bill Cosby and look at Harvey Weinstein. Now, nobody will ever take a deal on a high-profile case because they'll always remember, look what happened to Harvey. He got his case overturned. Look what happened to Bill Cosby. Why should I take a deal and give up my appellate rights?
Wow. So that's giving a lot of hope and silver lining to all these perps who are sitting in prison going, hey, I might have a chance to get out too.
Well, a good lawyer would explain the difference between why they got their case overturned and why you won't.
May not. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say, for example, why did Bill Cosby's case get overturned? Well, they threw 1 million witnesses, females at him. Court said that's not fair.
So they
Same with Harvey Weinstein.
Breached evidentiary rules in some way.
Not breached evidentiary rules, but they said that it was prejudicial in nature, that the probative value of having all those female witnesses did not outweigh the prejudicial effect.
Copy.
Thereby violating due process. Translated in legal language, you overdid it.
Yeah, you weren't super fair to the guys.
You overdid it.
As he sat there.
It's almost like overkill.
Yeah, like you paraded these women in front of the jury and like, come on, you didn't have to go that far.
Why did we even give you a trial? We should just hung you out in the back.
Right.
So that's the one thing. But with Sean Combs, if they're smart, they won't do that same mistake. They'll use 1, 2 women maximum. Even if they have 8, they won't bring in 8, 9 women because then it brings up appellate issues. Does that make sense?
If you're starting to seem like you're unfair or the probative value is outweighed by prejudicial value, you got higher up judges looking at you going, hey, we might overturn this.
Right.
Be careful. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Ooh, so, man, he's just sitting there waiting for the day, huh? He's watching our podcast right now going, man, shut up, guys.
Oh, yeah. He's not.
Stop it.
He's not liking us. He's looking at us and he's got the Tony and RJ voodoo doll and is stabbing us right with a pin, hurting us right now.
But listen, we're just talking about the facts. You're calling it as you see it.
By the way, I don't want anybody to get incarcerated. I am against human incarceration of every kind. However, I will say that you have to pay your dues to society. If you commit some sort of wrongful act, you need to pay the price.
Right.
Now,
that's how our society functions.
That's where I come in. The price is what I determine with the judge. I'm like, look, he shouldn't go away from 20 years. That's a long time. Let's make it 5.
Right.
Like, let's just say Sean Combs gets arrested. Do you think he deserves 25 years for this? That's a long time. Now I'm starting to defend Sean Combs a little bit, okay? Yes, let's say he's guilty.
Well, what's the worst possible charge out of the laundry list that you laid out?
Oh, sexual trafficking.
Okay, so does he
could get 20 plus years on that.
Does he deserve it?
See, now you're getting into another podcast about the federal sentencing guidelines. I think they're too strict. Do you need 20 years to be rehabilitated? That's a long ass time.
Very long.
In fact, I will tell you that at that point, I don't think you're no longer rehabilitated. I think you become institutionalized because you're just used to the 4 walls. You have no idea how to cash a check. You have no idea how to get a job. why do you even want to get out of prison at that point? The world's changed.
The cement hardens.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to change at that point.
Now, what point? Now the judges are listening to me and saying, "Okay, RJ, what number would you like to give it?" I'm not in legislature.
Well, is there any good argument for just not having federal sentencing guidelines? I mean,
There
have
is.
them guidelines, but not mandatory to the judges. So
Booker v. Washington.
untie the judges' hands. Isn't that what we pay them for, to be judges?
Booker v. Washington. There's a case that says they untie their chains. That's a new case that came out.
So yeah.
So they're no longer tied to the federal sentencing guidelines.
Oh, is
They're
that
all, yeah, not all, but they're recommended. They're just advisory. I had a sentencing the other day, 2 days ago, 3 days ago in federal court, right? My client, who's a female, is looking at 10 years. So she's got the advisory, what the advises. And they usually 90% of the time, even though they're not supposed to be adhered to it and shackled to it, they still go along with the advisory.
Can I ask what you got?
Yeah, you can. I got an amazing deal. She was looking at 10 years. I got her 3, and she still complained. Yeah, and you know what's great? We'll name the judge, Judge Dale Fisher, who's a federal judge.
Is that here in LA?
In LA Central District Court.
I used to be a federal extern there.
So two days ago, she said this on the record. She looked at it. She said, in 25 years of doing this, I've never seen a deal this low.
Right.
And you know, because she's supposed to do 10 years, I got 7 years chopped off, which is unheard of in
That's
federal
incredible.
court.
Wow.
And she wasn't happy.
She was lucky to have you.
By the way, that's very normal. In our business, it's a thankless business. I've gotten not guilty verdicts where people have complained. Can you believe that? What about my phone? They broke my phone. Are they going to pay for that? After not guilty verdict? Yeah. Who's going to pay me back my attorney's fees like I paid you? That's not fair. You have no idea.
Precious, bro.
Yeah.
That's precious.
It's a thankless, horrible business that I'm in.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but you know, I like helping people. And that's why
Sean Combs, if you're listening, be nice to your defense attorney. Don't do that. Don't complain about the phone. You've got so many other fish to fry.
Like Sean Combs is not being nice to his attorney, I think, Aaron Dyer. Let me tell you what's going to happen with these guys. I've dealt with these high guys, these high profile guys. Yeah, these high guys and high profile guys. If you don't tell them what they want to hear, bye-bye. They're going to go to another attorney that's going to tell them what they want to hear.
That's the problem, right? If you're paying for high quality legal advice, the question is, are you actually going to listen to that hard truth?
He's not that guy. He thinks he's smarter than everybody. He's not that guy. I'll tell you why he's not that guy, because he made that statement, and there's no way that Aaron Dyer would have said, go ahead and make that statement. So he didn't listen to his lawyer. I already have the sign. Number one. Number two, everybody says he's very type A personality. He believes that he's smarter than everybody. Some people say he's a narcissist. That's a really hard client to control when you have a narcissist. Try to tell a narcissist that, you know, what you're saying and doing is wrong. They don't want to accept it. Think about Sean Combs. He's so successful, right? He's reached the pinnacle of life. Who the hell is RJ Manuel to tell him the billionaire advice? I'm just a peon attorney making X amount of dollars a year. He's the billionaire. So in his mind, I'm more successful. I've reached my plateau, my pinnacle, and you're going to tell me how to run my life? No. This is what we're going to do, and you're going to help me. And that's how they think.
Yeah. If he's dumb smart, that's what he's going to think.
That's right.
If he's smart, he's going to be like, I'm going to pay the best lawyers, and I'm going to listen to their advice, because they're going to minimize the damage, man. They're going to minimize the blow coming at my head.
Well, right? that's what you would think. But like we talked about on Rebecca Grossman, remember the podcast? They don't listen. The people with power.
Yeah, she fired the attorneys.
A lot of attorneys. She fired 2, 3. The last one I predicted on the last podcast. By the way, I said it. Go watch our Rebecca Grossman. I said, Tony, I'm making a prediction. I was just watching the other day. I said Tony Busby is going to get fired. The guy he got fired.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you're rich and powerful, you don't want to take no for an answer. You just want to go to somebody that's going to tell you what you want to hear and hope that he does it. And, you know, with a guy, I wouldn't take Sean Combs' case for that reason. I would just tell him the truth. I'd say, Sean, you're looking at a lot of trouble. Do you want me to help you? If he says, nah, man, I don't want to hear that. You know, I don't want to hear that. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Do you want me to lie to you, Sean? I could lie to you, but that's not who I am.
Right. And that's not doing
And if he says, I don't want to hear that, be like, you know what? Shake his hand, be like, best of luck to you. I could refer you to somebody else.
Right.
Because what I deal with his issue. If he says, okay, I respect you. Thank you for telling me that. All the other attorneys are lying to me and telling me what I don't. What do you want me to know? I would tell him, you're looking at a lot of time, Chief. A lot of time. There's a lot of people pointing fingers. We're going to have to do an aggressive defense. We're going to have to investigate all these victims.
Okay, so give me the worst case, Doc. How much time?
You're looking at 20 plus years, Mr. Combs.
Best case?
20 plus years, Mr. Combs.
Still 20 plus.
If we want to negotiate with the prosecution, we can, but that's going to show weakness, Mr.
If I'm Sean Combs, I'm going to say, are there some of these charges I can plead guilty on and others I should fight?
That's what we're going to talk about, Mr. Combs. I would say I'm going to talk to the prosecutor about getting the human trafficking charges dropped, getting all the serious charges dropped, and just pleading to the drug charges, which I think is what they want. And then Sean's going to say, well, what does that mean for me? It depends. They may require you to do some jail, forfeit some money, a combination of things.
Is there any chance I could become an informant now?
He is an informant.
But can I be a better informant? Can I do anything?
If he has, so yes, yes. If he says, okay, I know who
got me.
I know who killed Tupac. Whoa. I know who killed Biggie. I'm willing to now step forward. That may change things.
Whoa.
That's what happened to Keefe D. Keefe D was an informant for the feds.
Okay.
He was on the street. How was Tupac Shakur's killer on the street all these years?
Right.
Because he was an informant for the federal government as well.
Right.
They knew it. And Keefe D, why did he get arrested? Because he was no longer an asset. So if Sean Combs is no longer an asset, he's going to go down. I guess he could say in the meeting, okay, I'll tell you, I know who killed Biggie. I know who killed Pac.
Imagine that.
You know, well, he did say, didn't he rant on the internet that if I'm going down, somebody else is going down?
If he did that in the meeting, wouldn't it be in a secret meeting?
With who?
Well, if he was talking to the feds and saying, hey,
Of course.
So what would that look like from our perspective as the public?
Well,
we would just see it go quiet?
Yeah, it will go quiet, but the feds will be really pissed at him too.
Because it's been quiet. That's the only reason I say that.
But the feds, as a federal agent, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, wait a second, Sean. I've been backing your ass up for 20 years. Now you're telling me who's killing Biggie? You've been holding out on me this entire time? I'd be really pissed.
Right.
But doesn't mean I wouldn't accept it either, you know?
Pretty juicy stuff.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, all right, tell me what you know. I'm telling me what you know, and then maybe we'll work with you on this. But you're gonna do some time on this case.
He is.
And if Sean's like, no, I don't want to do time. Listen, Sean, you were looking at 10 plus years. You know, with RJ, your attorney, we'll get you 3. That's the best it's gonna be. And if he says fine, talks, maybe in that situation he could weasel his way out. But I don't think he's gonna do that. I don't think he has that information anyway.
It doesn't seem like it. Because he may have needed it by now.
Yeah. Well, maybe not. We don't know. I mean, even Bulger, when Whitey Bulger got arrested, he didn't have that intel to say, I got some more information to stay out. Suge Knight, same thing. When he went in, he didn't have enough intel to keep out.
Right.
You got to have enough intel for the federal government to say, all right, you know what? We're going to give you a pass.
Right.
Otherwise, why are they going to protect you? And even if Sean Combs had that information, to be perfectly honest, I don't know that the federal government would step in at this point. They'd say, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you. These charges are way too serious for us to give you a pass.
It's looking
that could be
really bad for him. I guess we're going to reconvene as soon as this comes down and he gets arrested.
Yes, sure. As soon as his arrest,
we're going to go live.
I don't know if I'll be around. I'll probably be in court, but we will do a podcast really quick. We'll go over all the charges, and then I'll listen to this podcast, see if I predict it accurately, and we'll talk about it.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that.